hopefully, I would love it if you wrote down some of the things you're grateful for, any of the ahas that you're having along the path. I hope that you have a pen and paper out. I hope that you're taking notes. And I hope that as we go through this, that you recognize that every single day is a gift. Every single day is a blessing. You know, as I start to look back in life and you start to look how fast it can go, you know, there's so much that we could be doing. And sometimes our biggest critic is ourselves, as to how we go about our day, how we go about moving through our day, how we move through our life, what we could have done, should have done. But I just want to remind you, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just remember, your past, if it's not everything that you wanted to be, does not equal your future. If your circumstances as they are today are not what you expect them to be, then the reality is this, is that your current circumstances do not equal your future. I would challenge you to use gratitude as the antidote to your fear. Feel it, experience it, live by it. I would challenge you also that everybody that you meet, to treat everybody you meet as if they're going through the most difficult moments of their lives, and you're going to be right most of the time. The fact of the matter is that there is so much struggle, strife. There's people who are dealing with different angles of their life, whether it be a health issue, whether it be a financial issue, a business issue, a relationship issue, or just pure out, they're down and out and discouraged. And your smile, your encouragement, your high five, your pat on the back, your attaboy often is the difference maker. Before you strike out to go after someone, I would challenge you to ask many questions. Ask questions as to where they're coming from. Ask them what's going on, and challenge yourself that if you truly want to be understood, that you first have to understand others. Seek ye first to understand before ye seek to be understood. You know, the reason I'm rattling these things off is that we each have different mantras and beliefs and ideas that fuel and drive and direct our lives. My question for you is, are you conscious? Are you awake today? Are you aware? Are you mindful of your activities? And are you mindful of the things that are going on? You know, years ago, I can still remember, and I'm not going to get into story, I'm just giving you some reminders of, really, you guys all know, if you've been around me a long time, as I've said many of these things over and over again. I can remember many, many years ago when my son Isaac, because we can't have a story, can't have a talk without a baseball story, but I still remember after he had lost a game, clapping. And as we were in the car, he looked at me as a young 12, 13, 14-year-old. And I remember him as I was clapping, I said, "Great job." He kept looking at me and I looked at him. I said, "Awesome job." And he thought thought I'd lost my mind. Like, well, why is he saying good job on the fact that he had lost? And the reality is that what is the best thing about losing at time? What is the best things about not having it right every single time? Is that you figure out how to win. And so from that point on, I remember that I came up with this idea that has become a mantra to my life, and a mantra to really, as I observe any success of any great leader, great agent, or individual that I see having tremendous success in life. And it is this: winning is in the details. If you want to win at a high level, you have to recognize that it has to do with being very detail oriented. It is unlikely that if you're having high levels of success, that you're not highly committed to the details of a transaction, the details of your business, the details of your outcome, the details of your activities, the details of every little nuance that makes all the difference in the world. Remember, to be great, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of hard work, but it also takes a tremendous amount of focus, because the winning is in the details. Ask yourself at this moment, what details am I overlooking? What details am I just simply discounting? What details am I looking at every single day and I just ignore them, and they have such a profound impact on my business, but I somehow have come to the conclusion that it's not that big of a deal? How is it that when you may go and take the time, the energy, or you may be very well be that agent where you hear them prospect, you hear them communicate, and you think to yourself, man, no big deal. This is pretty easy for them. The number of times in my career that I've had people come and listen to me prospect, shrug their shoulders and go, okay, well, that was no big deal. And yet almost every single time that I prospect, whether it's being calling just listed or just sold, it takes me no more than in the past 4 to 5 different people that I would speak to before I would set a solid appointment. And that means just listed, just sold, doesn't matter whether it's expired, for sell by owners, internet leads, signed calls, you name it, it doesn't matter. And my point to you is this, is that I've dedicated my life to the details of this business. I don't have a college degree. Oftentimes people think that I do not. I went to 2 years of the University of Utah, and I caught the vision and the joy and the beauty of this business. And I made it to where it was going to be my, if you would say, my craft, that I was going to get a PhD in selling. I remember years ago listening to Justin Udy when he was on a panel for this company. And I remember as I listened to him, he said these words, and I will never forget them. He said, master your craft. This is a guy who will consistently make well over $1 million a year. And it made me realize that when I met Justin for the first time as a new licensee, when we first met it in a previous company that I owned, I remember my conversations with him. And I thought, you know what, great guy, good dude. Never in my dreams back then would I think, just over 10 years ago, that today he would be leading out at the level that he does, earning the money that he does. Not because I doubted Justin, but because my thinking wasn't that big so many years ago. My observation is that as I watch Justin, he has mastered his craft, and he is so dedicated to the details that make successful agents. So remember, winning is in the details. So today, as you're taking notes, as you're writing things down, hope I spur some thoughts, elevate your commitment, inspire you into action to do more. The fact of the matter is that sometimes we get ourselves into a mantra, to a story, to a condition that literally speaks ourselves out of, moves ourselves out of the very things that we want. So I'm going to ask you a favor. Suspend your disbelief for a moment. Take a step back and let yourself go to a place of uncertainty, a place of learning, a place of openness, a place of not with us saying these words, I know. Because the moment that we say, I know, is the moment that our brain shuts off and we stop the learning process. Those of you who I have watched, and those of you who are listening, and those of you who are not, but who have had tremendous success, my observation is that you have moved through a place where you're open, you are teachable. My observation is that as I move through this business, as I watch agents who make a little bit of money, earn $50, $60, $80, $100,000, and somehow they believe that they have arrived. Gang, if you ever believe that you have arrived, you are off the mark. Because this business, this life is about learning and growth and progression, progressive realization, as the great and late Earl Nightingale used to say. Progressive realization of a worthwhile ideal or goal. That is success. That is where happiness is found. Growth equals happiness, as the Jim Rohn used to say, and picked up by the Tony Robbins and others. The reality is that, look, growth. And the reality is that if you're tired of growing, I'm sorry. But the reality is that if you want to succeed in life, you want to become more in life, you want to have more in life, you want more freedom, more opportunity, more money, more transactions, more deals, more ability to do whatever you choose to do in your life, it's going to require growth. Remember, for each one of us, for every one of us, that is this: we must recognize that everything that we want is outside of our comfort zone. Everything we want is outside of our comfort zone. So the things I want to share with you for the next 10 or 15 more minutes are really about you getting outside of your comfort zone. Ask yourself for a moment, how comfortable are you? Are you too comfortable? Are you just coasting? Because as I've said for years, that if you're just coasting, the only way you coast is you go downhill into literally oblivion. You cannot win the game of life just coasting. You can't win at any part of life coasting, because if you're coasting, you're going downhill, which means you're going to crash, you're going to go down, and you're never going to succeed at the levels that are possible for you. Number two, if you're simply just saying, hey, I'm kind of just laying flat here, I'm not doing much, I'm just letting things happen. Well, the reality is there. If you're flat, all that comes to my mind is that heart monitor in the hospital that goes beep, which means you're flat, which means you are on your way out. You are on that place of not making it, dying, death, reality. And then the third component, of course, is always the fact that the only way that you get to the top is that you have to climb, and you have to take one step at a time. Remember, gang, no one who gets to the top of the mountain is looking around going, man, I'm not quite sure how I got here. Every mountain that I have summited in my life, and I love to climb, I love to hike, and I know many of you do, there is never a question as to how I got there. I'm not sitting there scratching my head going, gosh, I'm not quite sure how I got here today. I'm here at the top of the mountain, but I just can't figure out how I got here. Remember that. Remember that if you're at the top of the mountain, or you're that individual, you're not looking around wondering. So remember that as you make each climb, the reality check for you, for each one of us, is the fact that it's going to take you out of your comfort zone. You're going to get out of a different zone as you climb. So with that, I have 5 core things I want to share with you today. All right. So yesterday I was in a wonderful conversation with our great coaches on ESS. Incredible, not only agents, but incredible leaders that are helping people go to the next level. And I fundamentally was talking about just challenges of agents. We were talking about what agents need to do. And I was reminded of the importance of what it means to know your job, and the importance of recognizing that sometimes we want to think that there's a magic answer to this business. We want to think that there's something magical in regards to how it all happens. And the fact of the matter is that if a home isn't selling, for example, there's no magic to it. It means it's overpriced, or you need to improve the benefits of the home or the condition of the home. This is not rocket science. We aren't putting men on the moon. We aren't solving and curing cancer. We're not coming out with the next vaccine for COVID. That is not what we're doing. This is a simple business. It's a business that if you will apply yourself with the right efforts and the right activities, you can win the game. The problem is that oftentimes for each one of us, the greatest challenge that each of us has is our ability to see clearly what is needed. Now look, first and foremost, I often, and you guys know this, I talk about knowing your destination, knowing where you're going, know the summit, know your why, know the outcome. Start with the end in mind. You've heard me say it multiple different ways. You know, your heart, your strongest and your most sacred desire. Man, what's the harbor you're going to? What's the destination of your life? Okay, now that you know where you're going, let's assume you know. Okay, but now the next question is, how will you get there? Now, look, in the decision-making process of working through what you're going to do in this business, maybe it's the amount of money you're going to earn, the number of deals that you're going to do, the impact you're going to have, the difference you're going to make, the destination, right? And so now you know your purpose, you know your goals, you know them. Well, the reality is that I've always appreciated Les Brown's statement when he said, as you're, in so many words, deciding where you're going, do not let the filters of how will you get there be the determining factor. So he says, and I don't know if you've said this to yourself, but you start thinking like, can I do this? And you start filtering things, and the fear and the anxiety comes over it. So he has a wonderful statement. I hope that you'll write this one down. He says, how is none of your business. How is none of your business. Now, as you're deciding on your vision of your life, where you're heading, where you're going, the goals that you're going to set, the purposes that drive you, when you set that goal, asking yourself, what's important about achieving that goal? As you come to those conclusions, there still comes to that point of the simple words is how. How will you do this? This is the winning that's in the details. This is where you're going to go to the next level. So look, what I hope today is that you're inspired to recognize that there is nothing about this business that you cannot learn. There is nothing about your life that you cannot learn. There is nothing about your life you cannot learn. There is nothing about this business you cannot do. And frankly, as a majority, there's almost nothing in this life that you cannot do. Okay? So from that standpoint, give yourself a pat on the back. Let yourself be encouraged. Put your hand on your heart and pat yourself and go, you know what? I got this. Because you do. Because you can win at the game of life. And as discouraging and hard and difficult as life will sometimes be, you know this, right? It's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times can you get back up. That's where winning is made. That is where champions are made. It is not on the basis of how many times you get knocked down to the ground. It's how many times are you willing to get back up when you do get knocked down. Because look, life, in the words of Napoleon Hill, there will be temporary setbacks. There will be them. And maybe you're in one now. Are you? That's for you to answer. But recognizing you can get back up because remember, your current circumstances, they don't equal your future. Your current moments are not who you are. You're far beyond that, right? Capacity, possibility, potential, it is all within you. All right, so here's these 5 things. First thing I want you to write down in that process, and I've said number 1 already, is vision. You have to have a great vision. Now let's jump to number 2. Number 2 is a requirement, and it is this. I want you to write down the words hard work. Hard work. Yesterday in a coaching session, I still love what Amy Clark said to me or said to all of us on the thing. She goes, sometimes I think agents forget that this is hard work. It is difficult work. It's mentally hard, it's emotionally hard, and it is physically hard oftentimes. Now, look, you may look at certain agents and you look at them and go, oh man, it looks so easy for them. Yeah, it probably does. But that's because they've mastered. And if you want to write these words down, they've done this. They've mastered new habits, disciplines, and rituals in their life. Habits, disciplines, and rituals in their lives. That's what they've done. So ask yourself, what is the new habit? What are the new rituals? What are the new disciplines that you're going to implement into your life? When we speak of the how to do this business, how to be a better recruiter, if you're a manager or recruiter in this company, how to bring the right agents into this organization, how do you become a better coach, which was the conversation we were having with our coaches yesterday, right? How do you become a better real estate agent? If you have a desire, you must ask the question of how. If you want to have a desire to be a better parent, a better father, a better son, a better sister, a better sibling, a better mother, if you have a desire to elevate the relationships of your life, stop looking around and pointing all the fingers, because as you're pointing that finger, 3 more are pointing right back at you. And that is the fact that if you want things to be better, you've got to be better. You want your relationships better, you got to get better. You want your relationship with a son, a daughter to be better, you need to be better. You want your relationship to be better with a spouse or intimate partner, you need to be better. That is how it works, and that is how success comes to each and every one of us. It is about our hard work and our personal habits, rituals, and disciplines. It is the patterns of our life. It is the patterns of our life. Last night, as I'm throwing the ball to my son Isaac, as we were sitting there in the garage, and I said to him, look, if you want to change the outcome, the fastest way to doing that is breaking a pattern. And you have a pattern of dropping your hands. So what did we do? I said, overdo it. Overdo it. Get a different pattern. Get your brain, your mind to think differently. By the time we were done, he was sitting up here with his hands in the initiation of the swing. And you say, well, what does that matter? If you're a baseball fan, you're a lover of the baseball swing, you know what I'm talking about. Keeping those hands high. We started looking at Mike Trout, one of the best baseball players, looking at his pattern as his hands were up high, breaking the pattern. So what patterns do you need to break? What are the patterns that are stopping you, preventing you? That's right. I'm seeing go Yankees. Yeah, that's right. The good whooping on Tampa Bay last night. All right. Look, what patterns are you going to break? What's the new pattern? What's the new discipline? What's the new ritual? What is it that you're going to do to win the game of this business? But look, you know me, of your life, of your life. What new patterns, disciplines, habits, and rituals? Rituals are sacred. What will be the new ones that you put into your life? That's the difference maker of those who win, right? We're talking about the how right now. You've got the vision. You know where you're going. Now, what's the work in which you're going to do? Look, guys, you're not going to win this game mastering the MLS. You're not going to win this game mastering a certain technology. You're not going to win the game. You say, well, wait, those are details, George. Yes, they are. But there's also a hierarchy to those details. And what is fundamentally more important. I remember this. Sam Bell and I were talking about this yesterday. We were talking about the order and the hierarchy of certain activities in this business for an agent who wants to win. And I said, boy, I can remember back in my days when I was so concerned in the first week or two. This is 26 years ago. In this building right over there, I can throw, well, I can't quite throw, maybe 2 stones throw over there. And I can remember sitting in a cubicle, working on my flyers, working on the DOS MLS, of those of you remember, and it was just right at the crossover when the book was still going on and DOS was your deal, not the pretty things we see today. And I was thinking, oh, I got to figure this out. Oh, I just passed my test. I better understand the contract. And I remember when I came up with this idea, and that is this: I don't need to know everything before I do anything. And the problem with so many agents regarding their work ethic is that they believe they need to know everything before they do anything. Well, I don't know what it was as a young 22-year-old back in those days, but as I sat and looked around, I looked at seasoned agents, and I sat in my own cubicle and I watched them. And I watched them rarely pick up their phone. I watched them rarely prospect. I watched them complain about the market. I watched them work on their emails. I watched them work on their paperwork. And so I started having this joke that I would do. Well, I'm getting ready. I had a few buddies that I started to have in those first few months of the business. And I remember saying to a few of them, hey, are you getting ready? Yeah, I'm getting ready. I'm like, okay, are you getting ready so you'll be ready? Oh yeah, ready so you'll be ready. So you're ready when you're ready. So when you're ready, you'll be ready. You're getting ready. And we would have this long ongoing joke about just simply getting ready. Guys, you got to pull the Band-Aid off. How many of you, think about that, how many of you are just getting ready to be ready? So that you're ready. So you're ready to, when you're ready, you'll be ready. Well, stop trying to get ready. It's the statement of why I've always said is ready, fire, aim. Ready, fire, aim. Stop worrying about knowing everything before you get started. Before you get started doing the one thing that is above all things in this business. You can tell me how great your flyer is, how much technology you have. Yes, all details that at one point or another you should know. But not more important than the mastery of a script or a dialogue and the mastery of making sure every single day you make calls. See, the reason that I sold 33 homes in my first year in business wasn't an accident now as I look back on it. And look, there's people like Lou Tran and others who sell far more than I ever did when I first started. And some of you probably on this call or this meeting today that have done far more than me. But what I will tell you as a 22-year-old selling 33 homes in my first year in business is this. I figured out the one thing. Guys, do you realize I besides passing the test, I never read the contract until I had to fill it out. I can remember I didn't even know how to work the MLS until I had to do my first CMA. I didn't recognize half the things I needed to do because I put the right order. For some reason, I figured out the right order as a 22-year-old that I was not going to put prospecting, talking to people, mastering my scripts, mastering my dialogue to communicate to another human. I was not going to allow anything to be more important than that. And that is the difference at 22 years old, as I would be making 50, 60, and many, many days of my career, many days, making 100 plus contacts a day. And some of you are making 2 or 3 contacts a day. Some of you are thinking 6 or 7 is good. Guys, it's not. not if you want to have extreme amounts of success, not if your dreams and your goals mean something to you, not if you are committed to your future and what you want your life to look like. You want your house paid off, your taxes paid on time, money sitting in the bank. You want those type of things in your life, then it will require far more discipline and hard work, new patterns, disciplines, and habits to getting there. So what will be your habits? What will be your disciplines? What will be the things that you do to take your business, your whole life to a whole different level? What will they be? Where will you go with this? Are you already exhausted from my message? You may say, oh yeah, I'm exhausted. What is it? I would love it if some of you in this chat box, I mean, there's 50 plus of you on this call today. I was looking at 55 of you the first time I looked at it. What will be your new discipline? What will be your new commitment of hard work? All right. Number 3, we're only number 2. We got 5 minutes. All right. By the way, right next to hard work, sacrifice. Every great vision requires a sacrifice. See, people have a vision, but then they don't want to sacrifice. So write that down next to number 2. All right. Number 3 is you have to execute. Execute. Kind of talked a little bit about that. So just write the word down, right? The most important part of this day that your day that you can execute upon when it comes to this business is how many people we talk to. This business, Everest, was built on one aspect. Talk to 5 people a day and set one appointment with one agent. That's it. And yet I will battle even my own managers at times. So if you could do me a favor with my own managers, ask them, did you set one appointment a day with one agent who should be in this company? Did you talk to at least 5 agents to set the one appointment? Ask yourself the question, what is the key indicators of your business? What will be the thing that you execute upon the most to win the game? I can promise you this is simple business. Set appointments, right? Go on presentations, close the deals. Repeat. Set an appointment, go on an appointment, close it. Repeat. You want to make big dollars? Again, we're not putting men on the moon, ladies and gentlemen. We're not putting them on the moon. We're trying to sell their house and help them buy one. That's the equivalent of what we're trying to do here. And if that is the thing of what we're supposed to be doing, then the question I would ask you is, what is it that you're doing every day to avoid the very thing that will bring you all that you want, all that you need? Everything about this business is laid in the fact of whether we prospect or we do not, whether we talk to people or we do not, whether you will actually get out of your comfort zone. And yes, you may not have the perfect script. You may not have the perfect dialogue, but will you make the effort to make the calls? That is the difference maker of all great agents. The many times I have talked to a Justin Udy while he is out knocking doors. My favorite one, he's knocking doors, he's sniffing. I'm wondering what's going on here. And in the middle of January at 7 o'clock at night in the pitch of black, the inversion of Utah going on, Salt Lake City going on, and he's knocking doors. And I'm asked, at first I'm like, what are you doing? Meaning I didn't know what he was doing when he first called me. He goes, oh, I'm just in between doors. I'm knocking doors. He paid the price. So let's go to number four now, which I wrote down, is to be persistent. Persistent. And I'm going to write down, I want you to write down number 5 as we wrap up. Number 5 is be patient, and we'll weave these together. Right? Vision, hard work and sacrifice, execution, making sure you persist and making sure you are patient through the process. Look, will there be temporary defeats and setbacks? Of course there will. If there wasn't, you wouldn't do it. I love what Brian Burnett said a few weeks ago on a call interview I had with him. He said, man, I'm really glad that prospecting seems to be such a difficult thing for people to do, because I don't know if I'd even have a job otherwise. I love the fact that I love to prospect and others don't. Isn't that interesting to you? Do you not find that compelling? That the most simple pieces of this business, Brian Burnett is on track for $2 million. Today, he has over $500,000 under contract. $500,000. And I saw him just last Wednesday. I come into his door, I knock, and it was 11 o'clock. And what do you think Brian was doing at 11 a.m. in the morning? You know the answer. He was standing there just like I'm standing here talking to you, had his 2 computer screens up, and he was on his phone. making contacts, to set appointments, to go on presentations, to make closings happen. Guys, this is not a complicated business, but for some reason, this generation, I don't know, our society, our influences around us have thought that you don't have to work hard to earn a lot of money. Life is not, as a general rule, like Las Vegas. You don't go put down $100 and make thousands and thousands of dollars back consistently. Consistently. You can't do it that way. Oh, what? One day you don't make calls and you find the perfect deal, or you talk to 3 or 4 people and you find the perfect client and you make a big deal. That's like Las Vegas. Put a few $100s down. Oh, I made a few $1,000s. Oh, life's so great. But you can't repeat it, because you can't go take the same $100 every single time down to Las Vegas and make thousands of dollars. It will not happen. The billion-dollar hotels do not stand because everyone's winning in Vegas. They win by the fact that you lose, and they build these deals. They build these hotels because of it. It's based on all the people who lose, who think that a little bit of effort will gain lots and lots back. It's not how it works, gang, and you and I both know it. So look, persist, 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 persist. And when you're persisting, be really patient. And as you're being patient, persist. And as you're being patient, persist more. And as you persist more, be more patient and see what's possible. All right? We're out of time, but what an extraordinary day to be with you. It is a beautiful day. Take the world by storm. Guys, you've got this. Look at me. Look me clearly in the eyes. Those of you who are looking and fiddling around and doing other stuff, I believe in you. And I know of my experiences that there is not a single agent who cannot win at the game of real estate. The question really is not can you, it's will you. Will you do the work? Will you pay attention? Will you recognize that the winning is in the details that we've talked about? You can do this business and you can conquer it, and you can have everything you desire out of your life if you truly will pay the price and the sacrifice. So as you know where you're going, move through your life in an extraordinary fashion. So good to be with you. So good to be with you. All right, here we go. Let's close up with some